Welcome to the Funny Books and Firewater podcast. Each week these idiots pair cocktails with comic books. You can find the cocktails, drinking game rules, and playlists on the blog at funnybooksandfirewater.com. While at funnybooksandfirewater.com, you can also find a drinking game rule to play while you listen to each episode. You can follow us at Firewatercast on Twitter, and Funny Books and Firewater on Facebook and Instagram. This is episode 115, Snagglepuss. This is our last episode, recorded as part of Pride Month in 2018.
Fetus, my former roommate, he had come up to school, for freshman orientation or whatever, and he'd been there for a week. And Fetus, like a lot of closeted gay people, was totally homophobic and was terrified that he was going to have a gay roommate.
Right.
It was a weird thing. So he was totally terrified that he was going to have a gay roommate. So his roommate was this guy named Christian, who referred to himself as K-Dog. He was a white dude from Utah, obviously. And so he comes in, and of course he's going away to college, so he's living it up. So he has leopard print sheets, and then he had a rainbow trout pillow, right, on it. So Fetus had gone home to visit his family, and K-Dog, once he dropped off his stuff, he'd gone home to visit his family, and we knew Fetus would be the next one back. So we went to Walmart, and we bought a poster of Justin Timberlake from NSYNC, and we posted it above Christian's bed so that when Fetus got back, he would think that he was gay.
This was the era where Bye 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 was the hit single.
Yeah, it's Big Bye 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 was really big at that point in time. So Fetus comes in, sees the poster, and freaks the fuck out, loses his shit. He is terrified. And so finally Christian comes in later that night, and Fetus is just super nervous, and and Christian walks in, looks at the poster, goes, "What the fuck is that?" And he gets really upset about it. So this poster ends up traveling around, eventually ends up on Fetus's wall. So then Fetus would go home every weekend to stay with his family and visit his cat. He never stayed up on campus every weekend. And so every weekend we would go and we'd put something new on his wall. So we had gotten a picture of three Asian businessmen in a sauna, just wearing nothing but towels, and we wrote on it, "You can cut the sexual tension with a knife." We posted that on his wall. We posted a picture of a squirrel with oversized nuts. We put there's a singer-songwriter duo. We found we went and talked to a girl who worked at a local record store, and we got a bunch of advertisement stuff, and we would sign them, to we signed a Backstreet Boys album cover, To the Best Lay in Logan, Utah, loves, and we looked up online and signed all of them, because I think Todd could name them all. I could name them all.
Probably still can. I don't want to admit that, though.
Yeah. So we would post all of this shit on his walls all the time, and he just kept leaving it all up. So Fetus, eventually, he leaves school because his parents basically said, well, you either have to sell your Jetta or you have to come home and go to school closer to home. And of course, he was so in love with his Jetta that he wasn't going to do that. So he goes back home, and then, of course, after being so homophobic for so long, he comes out of the closet 5 seconds later. And to my knowledge, he's been with the same guy ever since, actually. So, they've been a long-term relationship, to my knowledge. But, we fucked with him royally. It was actually pretty fun.
I really enjoyed the spray bottle you had for him.
That's right. Like a cat. We had a spray bottle of water. We did something bad, we'd spray him in the face.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Such animals.
That was probably the most bro-ish apartment I ever lived in, actually.
I think my favorite thing is when Nancy was in that apartment, he would grab cups and fill it with water at night to have a sip. But I think it was Christian that was putting all the bacon grease in a cup each night. Then you put it back in the cabinet. And then Nancy, there was a roommate. His name was Brian, but we called him Nancy. And Nancy would fill up the cup without really thinking and have a drink. And one night he had grabbed the bacon grease cup and just been drinking that at night. Thought nothing of it.
I also found out years later that he would try to take subtle revenge on me by pouring out cups of my minute rice that I had bought. He'd pour it out onto the floor or whatever, or into the trash to try and fuck with me. And little did he know I was not cooking any of it anyway, so I never even noticed any of it.
Oh, you just had hamburgers with ketchup only and Coke.
Pretty much. That's what I lived off of in college.
I remember, I think it was...
That's why I have to go to the gym now.
That's right. I remember you going to, I think it was Galaxy Diner. And you went to the waitress and he's like, bring out 2 Cokes, and every time you come back, bring another Coke.
Yeah, in fact, I having quit my Coca-Cola habit, it's a very hard thing to break now. I want Coca-Cola all the time now. It's very sad.
Just have a Diet Coke.
No, it's not the
I
same.
know. No, it's not the same. B, it's a slippery slope. Like, I got to be a teetotaler on that one because, like, you know, I that's one of those weird addictions where it's like if I was ever the closest thing I've ever been to an alcoholic is probably an addiction to Coca-Cola. Like, once I have one, like, it's downhill from there. Like, I gotta avoid it.
And the really bitchy thing Coca-Cola does is their Diet Coke has a lot more caffeine than regular Coke does.
Oh, does it really?
Absolutely. They
Does it
really
really?
load it up. So it's like, oh, I'm going to go to Diet Coke and then I'll get off of it. So no, they just jack the caffeine way up. So if you go to Diet Coke, you're never leaving because you get such massive headaches from it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Speaking
Hey,
of massive
business
headaches.
model.
Sure. Speaking of massive headaches, welcome to episode. I don't remember. I think I wrote down. I think we were like around 114. No, we're 115. Hi, welcome to 115. We are doing. Okay, this is a little different for us.
Mm-hmm.
This is a book that isn't in trade yet.
Isn't finished
Yeah,
yet.
it finishes
Finish it.
tomorrow as we record this.
As we record this, it comes up tomorrow. However, I need to go out of town for a month, so we're pre-recording these things so I have enough time to edit them to put them out. So,
You mean it's not live?
no, this is a pre-recorded medium. If people actually heard how idiotic we sound without me editing them, they would disown all of us. So here's the deal. If you would like to read this book, and we'll get to recommendations and if we'll votes and all that stuff later. If you'd like to read this book, you can either read it individual issues or the trade we believe will be coming out in August.
Yeah, I believe it's August.
Yes, so this is as like cutting edge and up to date in comics as I think we have ever been on this show. Like, we are literally reading single issues. I personally read them all through the Comixology app online. They're very easy to find that way. But you can also go to your local comic shop and support them and buy it that way, or you can wait until August and buy it on trade. It's up to you. And like I said, in a little while, we will get into whether or not we vote that you should read this or not. Also, because it finishes up tomorrow, there's going to be 6 issues in this trade, but we have only read the first 5 because this is what is out. So we don't know how this ends, actually. This is like movie Clue. We're not exactly sure how it ends. You, the listener, have the opportunity to find out for yourself before we actually know. So which will be kind of fun. So we're going to review this on the first 5 issues. I'm just getting this all up front out there so that we're not, trying to bullshit you and say that, oh yeah, we've read everything, we think it's amazing, and it finishes barely. We have no fucking clue. The last issue might be fucking awful and, might tank this whole series. Doubt it, but that's a possibility.
Yeah, that'd be kind of weird as that was like it all just crumbled in the last issue. So
it would be very, very strange. But just on the off chance, I just want to be upfront with y'all. That's the story here. So,
Y'all? You're saying y'all?
dude, I lived in North Carolina for 3 years, and the y'all is the only thing that's stuck, and I use it all the time.
Honey.
Yeah, I've lived in North Carolina long enough to actually be in a restaurant where the food was so greasy, someone was taken out on a stretcher from having a heart attack and wanted to get his fries to go. That's how long I lived in North Carolina.
Awesome.
Oh my god, it was the Arcadia Grill, man. My friends swore by that shit, and it was disgusting. I didn't live in the South long enough to actually grow a taste for Waffle House. That's just one thing I never really got into. So that's it.
Before.
It's a total
Really?
religion.
No.
It's something.
It's an acquired taste.
I've been to a few Waffle Houses, and you're just like, this is a thing?
It's a Waffle House.
Imagine a Blander Denny's.
Yeah.
No, that's Black Bear Diner. I went there. There's Black Bear Diner around here, and my secretary went, a place that makes Denny's seem exciting.
Really?
I found out today that I actually get employee discounts at Black Bear Diner.
That's random.
It is very random. Somebody I was working with today was looking up the employee discounts we get, and that was one of them that popped up. He's like, and apparently he likes the place. I've never heard of the place before today, and now it's come up twice in the same day, which is very weird.
No, take Denny's and give it a rustic feel. With like the
Like Cracker Barrel.
kind of like Cracker Barrel, but Denny's.
I feel like I should be insulted when I'm in a Cracker Barrel. I feel like that's a comment on me as a white person.
It's true. And that's
Does Utah still have that Mexican restaurant called Gringo's?
no.
I don't think so. No.
Do you remember that place, Todd?
I absolutely remember Gringos. Why would I want to go to a Mexican joint called White
I
Guys?
think there is
Yeah.
one still.
There was one in Bountiful. I remember that.
And there was
'Cause
one on Redwood Road near Standard Plumbing.
I never ate there because I did not get an appreciation for Mexican food till I lived in Southern California.
Well, that's
That's
where
when I started,
Mexican
like-
food's at.
Well, that's
its
what you
best.
should be having. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's why all of a sudden I was like, oh, this is amazing. So yeah. Anyway, speaking of amazing and speaking of coming up twice today, we have Mr. Todd.
I came twice today. Must be my birthday.
Yeah.
I only came once.
Happy night in Pride.
Well, the night's still young. You never know.
And so are you.
It is Pride. It's Pride Life.
Pride Life. There we go.
Pride Life, and good for you.
We actually had the discussion that you're not a slut, you're a people person.
Yeah.
When your number gets high enough, you're back to being a slut again. So
What is that number? Is it like past double into triple, mid doubles?
I'll tell you off here.
Okay.
Of all the shitty things you've said on this show, you're not going to say that one.
65.
Is that your personal number, or is that just like when you become a slut again?
That's when you become that's when you become a slut again. So
Dude, you joined
Okay.
the AIARP.
and I'm sure there's at least 3 or 4 I'm forgetting because we're putting it all together, so I'm not sure.
Sure. Well, hey, I'm Todd. I'm here in Salt Lake City. I've been drinking too much and having a good time with these guys. So I am
You
sitting
might be number 66.
sitting next here to my man Maya and Adam,
Cum dumpster himself.
the cum dumpster himself. So he's rocking the Jurassic Park
I am. Jurassic Park tank top.
tank top, and it looks good, man.
And we could be matching. Adam got me one as a present yesterday.
I did. It was your recent day
'Cause
present.
Jurassic Park is my favorite film of all time.
Is it?
It is.
That was the movie my mother bought a pirate copy of, and she had to watch like 10 times for going to see it in the theater because she had to like prepare herself
Oh, really?
It's scary for
because it was scary for her. My mom's
Isn't
so
that-
cute.
Didn't you have a cop who lived across the street who borrowed that pirated copy from you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this was Utah in like 1993 or
I
something like
remember
that.
I remember you invited me over to watch a video copy of Jurassic Park. I'm like, how the fuck
Yeah,
did you?
my mom had gone to New York and bought a copy of it. Now, this is like back in the VHS days.
Oh yeah, I totally remember this. That was funny.
So I mean, it was totally a copy of a guy that had like a camcorder sitting in the movie theater because of like
you could
ships.
see people get up and leave and
And
like go
movie
get
and
like
the whole
ice
thing.
popcorn or whatever.
So
Oh yeah.
that's probably a movie I've seen maybe more than Star Wars.
See, nothing without the first Star Wars for me. Episode 4. New Hope.
So, but just pure number of times watching it, Jurassic Park might be number 1 just because of that. Because for some reason I thought I was cool because my mother had bought a pirated copy of it, and I watched
was
it a
pretty
bunch. So
I'll give you it. It was pretty cool.
it was pretty cool in 1993.
True.
So, yeah, Salt Lake,
My God,
Todd,
yeah.
drinking too much. Hey guys,
Yay!
Okay, so now I have to know, Maya, is there any movie you've seen more than Star Wars?
Probably Jurassic Park.
Babysitter's Club.
Fuck off.
Also, a big fan of the Babysitters Club and Jurassic Park, we have Mr. Maya.
Hi guys, I'm Mr. Maya. You can catch me on Twitter at Mr. Maya or Instagram at the Mr. Maya. Yell at me. Let's talk comics. It'll be a good time.
Yes,
Does
queen.
Jonesy have his own Twitter account?
I love you. What's that?
Does Jonesy have his own Twitter account?
Yes, she does.
Oh, sorry, I
You just
apologize.
assumed her gender. How
It's
rude.
and she has an
I
Instagram.
don't even assume my own cat's gender.
Yeah.
People ask me if it's a boy or a girl. I said I respect its privacy.
Yeah, she does. And she has both Instagram and Twitter. She doesn't use it that often. She's lazy.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay, I
it's
didn't
but
want
it's
to promote
but it's
that as well.
at I am the Jonesy.
I
Or
am
no,
the
it's the
Jonesy.
Jonesy. It's the Jonesy.
It's the Jonesy. Okay.
It's been a day.
It's been a day. Okay, I apologize for that. And then also, who probably has seen Star Wars more times than he's seen Star Wars, we have Mr. Adam.
That's actually very true. No. Hey, what's up? I'm not sure how that's true because that doesn't make... Anyways. Hey, what's up, Adam? I'm the reviews editor for Big Shiny Robot. Also do the Bored as Hell podcast with Andy Wilson.
Hi,
Andy.
Hey, Andy. And then, of course, Cinema Queens with our good friend Chris.
Hey,
Hi,
Chris.
And for Pride Month with Cinema Queens, we are taking the whole month to break down the miniseries of Angels in America. So we did our first...
Hi, Angels in America.
Hi.
Chino's the man.
So the day this comes out actually will be the day that we finish up the whole run. So it should be fun.
Okay.
Yeah, just doing that, and then just recovering from Pride Weekend because as we record this again, we do it in time travel. We just have Pride Weekend up here in Salt Lake, and I've never worn a tank top before, and I'm sunburned. So
I have a similar problem. I was in Tahoe last weekend, and I decided that I wanted my arms to be a little less ombre, as I like to call my farmer tan. And so, yeah, I'm in this serious peeling like a motherfucker, itching like crazy.
Because you were in Tahoe,
I was in Tahoe.
you little bitch.
yeah, it didn't get
Yeah.
that badly sunburned where it's going to peel, but it was enough to where obviously I need to get a base tan going because I got a farmer's tan like a motherfucker.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah, that's one of the big things that's
fuck
keeping me from
mothers.
wearing.
Fatherfucker.
There we
There we
go.
go.
I like that actually. I think you should make that a thing.
I'll make a shirt.
And hey, I'm Brian. I hate to admit it, but I've probably seen Crocodile Dundee more times than I've ever seen the
Really?
Star Wars movies.
Which
Me versus-
Crocodile Dundee?
The first one.
The third one.
First
What
one.
about Crocodile Dundee in LA?
I don't think I've ever seen that, to be honest with you.
It just sounds terrible, doesn't it?
I've seen the first one like a lot. Me and my sister used to watch it all the time. I don't know why. That was a movie we watched all the time. That we watched Back to the Future a lot. I've probably seen that more than I've seen Star Wars, and maybe Ghostbusters.
The other one that probably beats it for me is Inner Space.
Oh, really?
I watched that movie all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing the boobies on the inside looking out. And yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that part.
Yeah, that was really good.
I remember my mom forgot about the boobies at the beginning of the airplane movies. That was pretty exciting.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed that.
Oh, see, what's funny about that was I had not seen that movie unedited in like decades.
Yeah.
And then when they did it for Geek Show Movie Night a couple years ago, when I was watching, like, I don't remember there being titties because it was always on TV. So
yeah,
it was good. Yeah. I also watched Grease a lot growing up, but we had a VHS copy and they had edited out the scene in the classroom song talking about sex. So when I saw it and I'm like, I do not know this. What is this thing?
Part of the reason why we're recording all of these early is because I will be in Logan, Utah, designing 4 shows for the Lyric. I will be doing Sense and Sensibility, followed by Peter and the Starcatchers, followed by Grey Gardens, followed by Macbeth. So those are the 4 shows that I'm doing this year. And then I will be returning to California, where Todd will come and visit me. Hooray!
Yay!
I also, with Todd and his lovely wife, Amy, who's also coming to visit us, we do a show called English Class Hooligans, which we're behind this month because life has gotten the better of all of us. I'm taking more of the blame for myself, but we're going to record.
No, it should be equal, dude. I think we're all about as far into the book right now as you are.
Okay.
All right.
But our hope is to record an episode soon and try to put it out. It should hopefully there's a new episode out by the time this comes out.
Yeah.
But we'll get our shit together, we promise. It's been a time. I bit off way more than I can chew. That's just flat out what it is. Yeah. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to start out like we normally do on votes. So should we think people should read it? And also we should keep in mind this is only for the first 5 issues. I highly doubt the last issue is going to change things. But what is your vote, Mr. Adam?
yes, 100% yes.
Mr. Maya?
Also 100% yes.
Mr. Todd?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, that was the only slightly.
Let me change my vote to yes.
And I'm also going to vote definitely yes. I love the hell out of this book.
Yeah, that's right.
So, so then that makes that easy. So then, of course, we have to have a drinking game. Sometimes we have these drinking games because the book is terrible, and sometimes we have the drinking games just for fun. And I have to say that some of these drinking game rules I have a feeling we're just going to be evil, but it's just going to be for fun because we like the book. So, what is your drinking game rule, Mr. Todd?
Every time you go on it and you realize Snagglepuss, his name is Puss like Pussy, and he's gay. Have a drink.
Okay.
I know, that one's bad, but that's where it is.
That's where your thought process. That's like it's one of those rules that sometimes Adam does, where it's like if you hear this very specific voice in your head reading that one character,
yeah,
take a drink. And sometimes I'm with him, and sometimes I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but okay.
Look at the flowers, Brian. Look at the pretty flowers.
I know. Thought I'm naming that rule Snagglepussy.
Snagglepussy.
Mr. Maya, what is your drinking game rule?
My drinking game is called What's Past is Prologue. Basically, anytime there's a flashback to Snagglepuss and Huckleberry Hound's earlier life before moving to the big city.
Awesome. Mine is called Sassy Bitch Fu, which is my own sort of special sort of kung fu that I wish I had. Every time Snagglepuss cleverly puts someone in their place, take a drink. And Mr. Adam.
So mine's called the Red Scare. So every time they bring up, the escalating tensions between the U.S. and Russia, or about the panel for un-American activities, that was the whole McCarthyism thing back in the 50s. Take a drink.
Make America great again.
Pretty much, it was their version of that. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I guess as for forewarnings, what I'd like to say is, so this is not completely the Snagglepuss you may have remembered from those Hanna-Barbera cartoons. I mean, it is the same character, and Huckleberry Hound is in there as well. This is in a world where they're sort of accepted amongst human beings, and this takes place in the 1950s. Snagglepuss is essentially a big-time, Broadway writer, a very well-respected writer in New York. He has he's married, but that's all for show. He has a secret lover. I think he's Cuban.
He was Cuban, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a Cuban boyfriend. They hang out at the Stonewall Inn, which is a very famous location. He hobnobs with famous literary and film characters as well. And he basically gets brought into a situation where he is being called to speak in front of the Committee for Un-American Activities. So that's the basic just setup of what's going to go on here. It's fun. I really like it. It has a fair amount of politics, and we'll get into a little bit more of the depth of that later. But so this is your warning. We're going to take a little bit of a break, and then at which point in time, when you come back from it, we're going to spoil the living shit out of it. So, yeah.
Yes.
Fuck off.
So we'll let you take a little break, and we'll be back in a moment.
While we take a break, here is a message from one of our fellow Hello Sweetie Network podcasts.
Now, sissy that wow.
Hey there! Are you queer or some variation of it? Well, I'm Chris, and this is my co-host,
Adam. And welcome to Cinema Queens, where we talk about queer cinema.
Each week, we watch beloved queer classics, discuss them, review them,
and cover a whole cluster of topics from our favorite scenes,
what they mean to us,
how it relates to our current world,
and the best part, the cherry on top of the sundae, happens to be...
gay rants!
So prepare your ear holes!
And listen to us Queens talk cinema. New episodes drop every Monday on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Bye-bye!
Hey, so welcome back. So this is the game plan. We're going to try to do a really, really brief summary because, frankly, the long summaries of these even bore ourselves. So basically, and Adam's going to jump in. Everyone else can jump in if I say something wrong. Help guide me through here. So basically, we start out with Snagglepuss, as I said before. He's a big Broadway writer. His play that's been running for a very long time is about to close. He's about to open a new play. Throughout the entire course of this book, actually, I'll just say there's a thing where you keep running into people that Snagglepuss has helped out, like that they have been on their last legs, or they have been about to be kicked out of business, or they're having something. Like, he actually is, like, in this book in general, he's a pretty good dude. He always seems to kind of help people out where he deems it necessary. He also has a tendency to put condescending pieces of shit in their place pretty quickly, which is also very fun.
Sure. So the year it's set in is what, like 1953, 54?
Yeah, something like that. At a certain point in time, you run into...
It was right when the Rosenberg trial happened.
Right. So it's the McCarthy era going on.
Yeah.
So we've got that going on, and also you've got the blacklisting of playwrights and
writers and people who are in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Sure. So, so this is set during that era. Is there anyone in specific, do you think, is like the greater inspiration for Snagglepuss as a fill-in?
I was
thinking Arthur Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, Arthur Miller's in it, though. Arthur Miller appears.
Did he?
Well, you've got a Marilyn Monroe type character.
Yeah. No, because it's Marilyn. No, it is Marilyn Monroe. So we'll get into this right now. So Marilyn Monroe is
Joe DiMaggio. Duh,
right,
of course.
That's right. That's the ex-husband.
Duh, I'm stupid. Yeah.
So she's married Joe DiMaggio, or she's dating Joe DiMaggio. She is having an affair with Arthur Miller, who talks about writing The Crucible, which was a parable for the blacklisting and the Red Scare and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, so yeah, it's very obviously Arthur Miller. I'm pretty certain they say it at least calls him Arthur as well. So at that certain point in time, and this kind of ties in, Snagglepuss, being the helpful guy, he shows up, gay as the day is long, and is, has Joe DiMaggio see her, because all Joe knows is that his girl has been running around town with an author of some kind.
Yeah. So
this is kind of like BoJack Horseman during the Red Scare.
A little bit, yeah.
This takes place in 1953, by the way.
Yeah.
53? Okay, yeah. So basically what ends up happening is that Snagglepuss goes and hangs out with, takes Marilyn Monroe home. So Joe DiMaggio is like, oh, she's hanging out with the gay guy. Okay, I got nothing to worry about. You know what I mean? And he gets to calm down a little bit. So after the play, you learn that Snagglepuss has a wife. Unfortunately, we don't remember her name off the top of her head. She doesn't seem to play a major...
Just call her.
Yeah, she plays a bigger role in, towards the end of the 5th issue. Or maybe mid of the 5th issue. But so he drops her off at home, says, the fine performance. She is well aware that, that he is gay, and, the relationship is not necessarily physically romantic, we should say. They have a certain amount of romance to them that they get into later. And then he goes off to, the Stonewall, which is a very famous bar. Basically, they're bribing all the cops to leave them alone.
Which is the birthplace of the gay rights movement. So
exactly, yeah. The Stonewall Inn is a very famous movement, location for the gay rights movement. So that's a very pivotal piece, and will come into play later in this book. So moving forward, there's a lot of little side issues of Huckleberry of Snagglepuss trying to get this play up and running. Runs into a bunch of problems, not necessarily totally important to the plot. But what ends up happening is Huckleberry Hound comes to town. He was found out to be gay by his wife. She kicked him out. She's divorcing him. He's taken everything. He's been wandering around, basically, drunk and having a hard time. He comes to New York. He ends up falling in love with one of the cops that visits the Stonewall Inn, and they start having a relationship. So,
who's also a dude?
Well, yeah,
we'll call him Mr. Horse.
Mr. Horse.
No, it's Quick Draw McGraw.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So he's
is it really?
horse?
Yeah. No, he said his name. Yeah, it's Quick Draw McGraw.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I didn't catch that. So
well,
there you go.
Huckleberry Hound's dating a guy hung like a horse, or is a horse.
Good for Huckleberry Hound.
Horse is a horse.
Of course.
Right.
No one can fuck like a horse.
Of course.
That is, of course, unless the horse is the famous Huckleberry Hound. So, thank God. That's going on our quote list. Okay, so moving forward.
Can we get a drop of that?
Yes, I can make that happen. I'll make it a ringtone for you, Adam.
Hey, my text tone is still ignore her, she drinks. So
nice. Basically, I'm trying to jump forward into it. There is a whole other subplot going on that's going to eventually build up of they are trying to get writers to say that the entertainment industry is distorting the minds of the Americans, and they're basically, it's all the Red Scare. They're having all these different trials and whatnot. They've called Huckleberry Hound in once before. He really didn't cooperate. They're going to try to blackmail him again. Their way they're going to do it is they're going to try to catch him in the Stonewall Inn, which they think he's going to be there. He is supposed to meet Huckleberry Hound. And what he ends up doing instead is, on his wife's request, he ends up taking his boyfriend to have dinner with his wife so that she can get to know him, and they can basically, his wife can have a better understanding of who he is as an actual person. Is basically what she was asking for. The unfortunate problem is that leaves Huckleberry Hound at the Stonewall Inn, being the most famous person there, when it gets busted. And basically, he's splashed all over the newspapers. The people in Washington say that they're going to blackmail Snagglepuss, and basically destroy Huckleberry Hound's life, and that he can save them by working with them.
By naming names, yeah,
by naming names and whatnot, which he's probably not going to do anyway, but he might do for his friend Huckleberry Hound, because he'll do anything for him. There's a lot of flashbacks of them getting along as kids and all sorts of stuff. So Huckleberry Hound, the night before it's not trial, but the right before Snagglepuss is supposed to testify, he ends up committing suicide. So now Snagglepuss has nothing but the truth. So he has sent divorce papers to his wife so that she is not going to be inundated with anything that he has done. His boyfriend is on his way to Cuba, which is not going to be safer than this situation, but I guess it's better that he gets out of America in general. And so Snagglepuss really has no fucks to give, and he starts his... he basically starts telling them where to stick it, but we don't get all the way through that. That's where the book ends, basically.
And we forgot to mention the fact that the lady who's in charge of all these testimonies and everything else, she goes home and she actually is a lesbian.
Yes, she's the one. She's got her own girlfriend.
She's got her own girlfriend at home. So
yes, that's true. So there's a certain amount of hypocrisy there as well. But
we've never seen that in reality, though, have we?
Never.
Hypocrisy,
no. Traitor.
There is no hypocrisy. She must visit the bathrooms in the Minnesota airport.
What?
I don't even know what that means.
There was an Idaho's senator, I believe, or a congressman who was very, very anti-gay and was caught trying to give blowjobs in a bathroom.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
Yeah, but
the more anti-gay a senator is, the more likely they are gay.
Someone doth protest too much.
A lady doth protest too much.
So anyway, so one of the things I want to start out on is I feel like, in the same way, and they make a reference to Arthur Miller in The Crucible about him writing about the Crucible, as basically writing the Crucible and the witch trials as a reference to the witch trials that were the Red Scare and the McCarthy hearings. I kind of feel like some of this story is actually written as a response to our current political climate. And I was going to see if anybody else agreed or saw the same things that I did in it, or is that just something that I'm seeing?
No, I definitely see that. I mean, this is our current political climate went from being one that was very open and accepting of the LGBT community
with the previous administration.
Yeah.
Yes.
With the previous administration to what we have now, where, I mean, every single year Obama would always be like, hey, it's Pride Month. He would light up the White House with rainbow lights.
Mm-hmm.
Trump won't even pretend. He's it's National Ocean Month or some bullshit like that. He named 15 things that it was, and so that's what the whole the log cabin Republicans confuse me, because I don't think you can be a Republican or be a gay Republican and support Trump, because he's tearing away our rights. His Attorney General is saying, yes, we should be able to discriminate against gay people with
Jeffrey Beauregard Sessions.
Heaven forbid, with a name like that, you'd be tolerant of other people. He's trying to make it so that openly transgender people cannot serve in the military.
Sounds like a slave owner to me.
He probably is. If it was 200 years ago, he would be a slave owner.
Yeah.
Fuck that asshole.
200 years ago?
150.
There you go.
But no, so
I'm thinking just last week, really. I think there's,
he might have some in the basement.
He might. Mm-hmm. He loves black people. He owns 5 of them. No, but it very much is. We're back to the point where we've got people who feel that they can be emboldened and empowered to say and do horrible things about the LGBT community, because we've got a power structure in place right now that really doesn't give a shit and honestly would like to see us all be murdered. So I think it is kind of a very big political statement about what's going on right now. And it was funny on Cinema Queens, we were asking the question about, with Pride coming up, is this more of a party or a protest? And when we had Obama there, we were we're getting our rights back. We were getting the ability to marry and everything else. Yeah. And there was much more party atmosphere, and it still is a big party. So if you're, by all means, please, if your Pride's coming up, go have fun, go have a blast, go get laid, do whatever you want. But it's almost more important nowadays that it needs to be a protest. It needs to be, fuck you, we're here, we're queer, used to it, act up. Everything we had back in the 80s and 90s when we had to actually fight harder for our rights, we're still doing that now. It's being more genteel in the way they're trying to chip away at our rights and everything going on. So,
well, it's interesting. Even as we're recording this, they were talking about the bakery and the Supreme Court issue, where there was a bakery in Colorado that sells wedding cakes, and they says, "Oh, you're a gay couple having a reception for being married in Massachusetts, but you're in Colorado. We won't sell to you." A complaint was filed. That says, "Oh, you're discriminating against us because of who I chose to marry." And you're like, "Well, it's our religious rights." And the Supreme Court came down very narrowly and said, "Well, there's some fuzziness there."
Yeah. So the ruling came down. It was an 7-2 ruling.
So you had Sotomayor and Ruth Bader
Ginsburg were dissenting, and the way it came down was that it pissed off everyone. So the religious right was looking forward and they said, yes, it's legal for us to discriminate against gay people. People on the LGBT side wanted to be like, no, you can't do this at all. And this technicality that came down on was the state treated them poorly, like they were biased in that. So we're going to rule on that part of it, but we're not going to rule on whether it should be legal to discriminate or not against people.
Right. They just ruled that the state, you could have handled this better.
Yeah. So go fucking do it again.
Try it again. So, and there's a whole lineup of cases coming. But I guess bringing up that point and everything else, it is as much as, so marriage is legal for gay couples and everything now, but it's still, the battle's not done.
Well, even in Texas too, I actually went to the Texas Supreme Court saying that Texas sued saying just because gay marriage is legal, the state should not have to provide the same benefits to same-sex couples that it does opposite gender couples, because they don't believe it exists. So in Texas right now, and I'm sure it's going up to the U.S. Supreme Court. Right. It was approved by the Texas Supreme Court that if two guys get married, one of them is employed by the state, they don't have to give them health insurance. They don't have to give them life insurance. They don't have to treat them like any way at all like a married couple. So they're married as a law, but they don't get the benefits of it. It's like that's the whole fucking point of marriage equality.
God damn it.
So I can go off on a soapbox for 20 years on this bullshit because I am a feisty faggot. So let's pass it on to Maya. He hasn't really said
all
much
right,
yet.
Maya, what's up?
Okay, Maya, I got a question for you. So there's an interesting statement on a different statement that I liked about this book that Snagglepuss makes, and he starts kind of talking about the importance of actually having entertainment in people's lives and their ability to escape from their life and maybe process things in a different way, but like that entertainment for entertainment's sake was a very, very important thing. I was going to get your thoughts on that.
I agree with him, but at the same time, like entertainment, it's a distraction. Books, books, movies, video games, theater. It's all a distraction from the real world, which is nice, and a lot of people need that. But at the same time, people can also use it to get away with stuff. Say, hey, look over here, and then they fuck you over there. But yeah, no, I fully do agree that with that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think the point he's making is that it's a way that it's both things. It can be a distraction, but also it's like, I mean, I think we've all had pieces of art that I think were more profound than just a distraction, and provided a context and a thought process, and maybe helped shape the way you view or process a certain thing as well.
What was it he said? Like, theater makes actors, but television makes...
He said television makes you a star.
Makes you a star.
And then theater makes you an actor.
No, it was about the dimensions of the performance. It was that television was a two-dimensional performance, whereas...
live theaters, yeah.
Basically, live theater was a fully formed experience, which at that time, yes, I would agree with that. But I think that... I think you could argue now that it's, film makes two-dimensional characters, but television makes three-dimensional or multiple-dimensional characters because there's more time to explore it, and the story's written there. I mean, that was just at a time where the big hardcore writers weren't necessarily going to Hollywood. Like, that felt like a downgrade, or like if they were going to make a strong artistic statement, that had to be on the stage still, and like you still sometimes get that in hoity-toity schools, but that sort of mentality is kind of lost a little bit. I mean, even when I was in school going to the theater, like, there was sort of this sense that if you were doing theater, you were doing real art, but if you were doing something that you made money on, you weren't a real artist, which I don't think is entirely true.
You were selling out just because you were making...
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I'll be 100% honest. This is coming from a person. I fucking sold out. I sold out big time.
According to SLC Punk, you bought in.
I was just about to say, did you sell out or did you buy in?
You bought in.
I really feel like I sold out, because I feel like to sell out, you have to sell part of your soul. And I think I completely did that. So I think I'm a sellout. I'm 10 years in now. What am I going to do at this point in time? I'm almost 11 years in.
I know. You're such a young boy.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. One day in this next decade, you might even get a gray pube. That'll be depressing as fuck.
I actually just had a conversation.
That happened to you, hasn't it?
Gray pubes?
Yeah.
So I'm starting to have it travel down south. It's like...
So flying south for the winter.
Flying south for the winter. I've got like a gray chest hair or two now. And
I got a bunch.
So it's happening, but the day I get a gray pube, it's like, just for men, huh? That might be for me.
No, so we went, the pool opened finally. So it was me, Eddie, Clark, and our friend Casey went to the pool, and we're sitting there, and telling us something random. I was like, I don't really mind the gray chest hair, but when I got my first gray pube, that's when I kind of like, oh my god, like I want to get to muscle bear status before I get to daddy status.
Sure.
So, but yeah, we literally were just talking about it, and Casey was like cracking up over here because he's listening to us record. And he's like, we were just talking about that.
Gray pubes out. I'm rocking the dad bod, waiting on a gray pube, and I'm just like, yes, life, it comes, whether you like it or not.
Is muscle bear what I think it is?
It's a furry dude who's muscly.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
So that's the best
I
can hope for. That's my ideal state. I'm more like...
I don't think you'll ever be a bear, to be honest with you.
I'm hairy enough for a bear.
You're a bear.
Dude, I look like a white
I don't think
yeti.
he's big enough to be a bear. I feel like he was always kind of an otter because he's kind of skinny. He always has been kind of skinny.
Well, I'm not scrawny as I once was. I've got 90 pounds on me.
I know. But still, I don't know.
I love
Adam, I guess you're the
she would call me scrawny boy because I was this little twig. And the moment she got a boyfriend that looked just like me, she stopped. But I always found it flattering that she had a boyfriend that looked like me.
It's true. But Adam, you would be the judge. Is Todd a bear or is he an otter?
Yes, he's a bear.
Really? I'm sorry.
Hey, I'll take that. I get to tell my wife that tonight. Yes!
She called you bear anyway.
Well, I know, but it got confirmed.
Wow, there you go. And you got your honorary pink card. You had a big Pride Month, Todd.
Dude, it's a good time. I successfully subbed in on Cinema Queens and got approval from that. Yeah. So I was rather proud of that.
Yeah. Man, you're making headway in the gay community. Congratulations.
I know. So
when you come out to Utah, or not Utah, California, I'll take you to Hamburger Mary's.
I have no idea what that
Hamburger
is.
Mary's. It's a hamburger place run by drag queens.
Yeah.
Oh, is that really?
That sounds awesome.
It's actually
sounds amazing.
it's not very far away from where I got married, Todd. Like it's up the
How
street.
come I've never been to this place? I want to go to there.
I've never been to this place either, but I think I'm going to take you now.
I went to the one in Hillcrest. I've been the one that bought you.
We're totally doing that.
Okay.
That's on the list, dude.
Okay, I'll put it on the list.
All right, so
Adam,
Snagglepuss.
will you go dressed up like Snagglepuss?
Yes.
That gets to my drink.
What is your drink?
It's a Snagglepuss. So you get a shaker with ice. You add 1.5 ounces of gin, 4 dashes of grenadine, 1 egg white. You shake the shit out of it, and you strain it into a cocktail.
You've got a flip.
A flip.
Yep.
It's got egg white. It's called a flip.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's Snagglepuss. So.
Yep. Nice.
Nice and frothy.
That's
Awesome.
awesome.
Just like Adam.
Yes,
True.
he is.
Nice and frothy, just like Adam. I want a T-shirt that says that. Nice and frothy, just like Adam.
Yes.
Oh my!
If we get Adam a "Many Bothans Died for Our Sins" shirt, I want a nice and frothy, just like Adam shirt. That's I think what I want.
I would totally wear that shirt. Nice and frothy.
Just like Adam.
Just like Adam.
Okay, well, so I'm gonna. There's a roundabout way I got to this cocktail.
Yes.
So
Do tell.
So I was looking for a cocktail like based on the Crucible, because they talk about Arthur Miller, and there's sort of this parallel between Arthur Miller's Crucible and the story of Snagglepuss and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
I found a website of a bar that had themed all their cocktails towards the play of the Crucible that was performing at a local theater at that point in time.
That sounds so depressing.
Yeah, so there was a bunch of them. So,
That's great.
But this one seemed to fit kind of both. So this is called A Proper Lawyer. It is 2 ounces of rye whiskey, a light 1/4 ounce of Luxardo, a heavy 1/4 ounce of blended Scotch, 5 dashes of Scrappy Russell's Reserve Bitters. You stir it up, and you flame an orange zest, and then discard the orange zest. And that's what do you got?
All right. What's Luxardo for the stupid? As I'm speaking
it's
for
a
myself.
cherry flavored liqueur, if I remember correctly.
All right.
Am I right about that?
cherry-flavored
Can someone confirm this?
What is it called again?
Luxardo?
Luxardo.
It's cherry, yes.
Hey, see?
All right.
I know some
I like
shit.
cherry. You go. You do
go,
you.
girl.
I know some shit. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm kind of proud of that I knew that off the top of my head.
That's nice.
I'm busting my buttons right now. So, Todd, do you have a cocktail for us?
I do. I was trying to come up with the name of the show, but I was thinking about it as so you've got the Stonewall, it was a gay bar, and it's in New York City, and I'm like, the quintessential New York drink for a bunch of chicks all hanging out would be the Cosmo from Sex and the City. So what's the peen version of this? And the peen version of this has to be the Sea Breeze. So, right, especially if you're Huckleberry Hound who's like, I want something that's a bit more sophisticated here in the city. It's like, oh, this thing's delightful. It's the Sea Breeze. So it's 1.5 ounces of vodka, 3 ounces of cranberry juice, and 1.5 ounces of grapefruit juice. You add all the ingredients into a highball glass with ice. Highball. And then you stir it with a swizzle stick. And then you sip it that way, and you've got the Sea Breeze cocktail.
Nice.
And that's what I envision Huckleberry Hound sipping with his pinky up.
Pinkies up makes it fancy, that's for sure.
Or pinkies in.
2 in the stink.
Well, there's always that as well. Mr. Maya, I am assuming you have a drinking game. Or not drinking game, a cocktail. Sorry.
I do.
Yes.
Mine is a huckleberry lemonade.
Nice.
The ingredients are 2 ounces of huckleberry flavored vodka, 4 ounces of actual huckleberry lemonade, 2 ounces of limoncello, which is like a Italian lemon liqueur.
That will fuck you up. That's awesome.
I was at a wedding where they gave that away as a going away prize. It was nice.
A half teaspoon of huckleberry jam, lemon, thyme, and a lemon twist. What you're going to do is in a cocktail shaker, combine the vodka, the lemonade, and the limoncello over ice and shake it to cool. Add the huckleberry jam to a highball glass with ice. Strain the cocktail over the fresh ice and swirl with a spoon to mix, and then garnish with the lemon twist and thyme.
So you've got jam, like just kind of floating about
With the ice, yeah.
Oh, dude. That sounds nice.
Actually, one of the interesting things, so like I took a cocktail class up in Tahoe last weekend, actually. And one of the things that
we get it. You went to Tahoe. That's a rack.
that's one of the revenge I have. But one of the things that the guy had mentioned was like basically using jams or taking his overall gist of it was take a classic cocktail that you can make really well and then start kind of experimenting on it. And one of the things that he likes to do is start using preserves or jams and like shaking them up in cocktails and whatnot to try to make, other stuff. So not completely unheard of, but I haven't run across it too often. But yeah, I can imagine it being pretty damn good, actually.
Yeah, because you've got that sweet, chunky jam sitting in there with the alcohol and all of that, and so you get a bit of that going through, and you're like, "Oh, this is a nice little tasty treat."
I think it'd be great. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So
that sounds really good, Maya. I would totally jam that.
And that's why we can't have nice things. So Trump. Is that why? Oh, okay, that makes sense.
That's good. He'll just pardon himself next month.
That's probably true. But he has nothing to pardon himself for.
Mm-hmm. But he'll just do it, and he'll just kind of do a blanket pardon for whatever I do, I'm okay. Yeah. But nothing's wrong, but I'll take the pardon.
True. However, criminal pardon, I don't think necessarily excuses you from civil proceedings.
Well, what's interesting about a pardon, as we're going into it, though, if you're pardoned, you've got to be somewhat clear. And once you've been pardoned, the Fifth Amendment no longer applies, and you can be compelled. So you've got to be careful with the pardon, because then you can be compelled by the courts to talk about what you've been pardoned for. So you've got to be a little bit careful there. And would be interesting to watch.
And he's not known for being careful.
Dude, an interview with Trump by Mueller would be the greatest thing ever, because he's going to have to eat through his lawyers to even have that, because he just cannot not lie.
That's true.
And that would be amazing.
Very true. Cool. Well, speaking of amazing, does anybody else have anything they want to discuss about this book?
So, yes, a few things going through here. I think the art is great.
Yeah.
Talking about that going through. It's written by Mark Russell. He wrote the condensed version of the Bible titled God is Disappointed in You. And
it's really good. I've read really good, at least. So.
It's really good. I have suggested that in the past. And what he's done is he's taken out the flowery speech and all the other stuff and just really distilled each portion of the Bible and the books down to what it's actually talking about. And there's a few drawings here or there. But he's watching this. Hanna-Barbera is, of course, the property owner of Snagglepuss, but it's an imprint within DC. So Detective Comics is putting out this book through Hanna-Barbera about the plight through the McCarthy era. The plight of what's going on today is a bit of a mirror. So, Marvel has gotten some flack and a lot of credit for inclusion of diversity. But I don't think DC is getting enough props in this side and going, hey, there is someone where they have put out this character that is absolutely openly gay. And then the shitstorm he's being put through because of it. And even with all of the self-righteous discrimination of you've got the person against American, unbecoming American attitudes, and she is a closet lesbian and everything else here. So you've got DC putting out a book that is quite the statement against what's currently going on.
Now, real quick, because you brought that back up again. Yeah. Now, we haven't read the final issue.
I have not read the final issue. It's just the first
getting it on Wednesday. Sure. I want to see how it ends.
I'll probably be buying it on Wednesday as well, because I want to read it as well.
Do you think that'll get brought up, or do you think that was just to show us that she's basically a hypocrite?
I don't think it's going to be brought up at all. I think Snagglepuss is going to get in the courtroom. I mean, the last issue is in the courtroom and whatnot. As it's going through, unfortunately, I do not think it's going to end well for Snagglepuss. I think he is going to have a Pyrrhic victory. And though he is right, he is still going to be blacklisted.
And, well, at this point, other than his career, he really has nothing left to lose.
So he will lose his career.
Because we didn't even bring that up, Huckleberry.
Huckleberry hung himself.
Yeah, he hung himself.
He actually was. If you oh shit, Eddie hasn't read it yet. Sorry.
I love you, Eddie.
Oh, we're talking spoilers.
What I got actually was aside from Brian was that when all this was happening and he was for me, it was like he was going to go and play ball, and they even said like he was going to be a positive witness for them because they were going to drop everything with Huckleberry to make sure that they would happen to him.
He was going to bite the bullet for Huckleberry.
Right. And, So, and then when Huckleberry killed himself, that's when they're like, "Oh shit!" He's like, "No, fuck you all."
And they didn't even know.
They didn't even know. No. So I don't think they're going to bring the fact that she is a lesbian and has a female partner, but I think it was showing that, because she reminded me a lot of Roy Cohn. So Roy Cohn was a lawyer back then who worked with McCarthy, and he was really deeply involved with like the Rosenberg trial, which is in here. He was also the Un-American
House Un-American Activities.
Exactly. Yeah, he did all that stuff, and he was like hunting down homosexuals and outing people. Well, at the same time, he was fucking dudes nonstop in New York. He was known for doing that. And what's kind of funny is how this ties in with Cinema Queens is Roy Cohn is one of the main characters in Angels in America, and in real life, and as it deals with in the miniseries, was he did actually die of AIDS, age-related complications.
Yeah.
So for me, that was AIDS.
AIDS.
Everyone has AIDS.
AIDS.
So for me, that almost seems more like, because as ruthless and horrible as she is, she's almost like the female Roy Cohn in the story, where she did have lovers on the side who were the same gender.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's who she was based off of.
Me neither, because she obviously is a very horrible person. Like she goes to that school and like she's trying to teach them about what's happening with the U.S. and everything else. So
if I was to make a prediction for a book that has yet to be released and I haven't read, is you're going to have Snagglepuss that's going to go all the way out. He's going to get blacklisted.
Yep.
He's going to try to, I'm going to release this. I am going to at least make Huckleberry Hound's death something that we can build off of or something. And I bet they'll even seal his deposition. So instead of having it come out and like embarrassed, they just will stop it cold. Mm-hmm. So it'll be a little bit of the end of the McCarthy thing, like McCarthy's sanction of what occurred and whatnot, but it will not come up. So his biggest victory will be they'll stop looking quite so hard. But they're talking about the Office of Un-American Activities. This was during the Red Scare. And you had the Red Scare on the communist side. I mean, they were killing homosexuals and everything and people that were not of the preferred method. I mean, there was a lot of genocide going on. Stalin killed more people than Hitler ever did, but since he was an ally, I did quote fingers. So for people that are listening, because no one can actually watch, and he outkilled everyone. But you're watching this here, so it was Un-American Activities for doing the very things that the communists were killing for. And watching this, so in some ways, having this pluralism is the most American thing possible, but people are terrified to embrace pluralism. And this just goes to show it works in small groups and people that understands, though you guys might have a different viewpoint on a few things. So Huckleberry Hound, you like dudes. And as does Snagglepuss, and the wife of Snagglepuss. I mean, it's very much a business relationship. She would like to better know him, but there wasn't a sexual relationship going on. And it's tragic for everybody because they can't openly just be.
Yeah.
And the fact that they can't be is probably the most un-American thing that there is. Because you look at it, and the greatest thing about America is we are known as the melting pot, where everyone can come here. We can do the general assimilation, and everyone brings in their own flavor. So by adding your own flavor, you assimilate, and we all kind of mix together. And what it means to be American is bringing who we are to a mixed group and saying everything here is welcome.
Yep.
Everything is welcome. Please come. You are all welcome. And when you have people says, you're welcome if you look like me. It's probably the most un-American thing. And the
you're
idea.
Welcome if you're white and straight.
That's an aspect of it. Don't forget rich and a landowner and a dude. Right? And as you look at this, the original sin of America really was the slavery and the allowance for it. One of the worst kind of jokes I ever heard is, what do you call 5 black people having an orgy? And it's a threesome because of the 3-fist rule.
Yeah,
and
Jesus.
It is terrible. And it is awful. and we can acknowledge our past, and it was steps forward. And even now, I think Snagglepuss here is looking at bits of our past to look at present day, and how can we continue to move steps forward. This is probably my favorite book out of all of them we've done for Pride Month. This is my favorite one we've done, and I really enjoyed Fogtown. I got a kick out of Iceman.
Oh yeah, this one actually was like, for me, this was like the Love is Love one from last year, because this is actually making a point, and this is showing what needs to be.
This is making a point right now, and it's fantastic. And I want to keep reading, and you're just reading these characters, and they've gone through the personification using these Hanna-Barbera characters as people. So it's Snagglepuss. It's a cat, and the cat is gay, and Huckleberry Hound is gay, and they're just trying to make their way, and they're trying to find their tribe of going, I can't be who I am where I was. So I'm coming to New York to be who I am and be accepted.
And which, playing off of that, I think it's funny that they're using these characters to tell that story, because this is a society where these different animal people live with regular humans, and that's not questioned at all.
None whatsoever.
However, I do have an interesting question about that. One more thought. In the theater, the humans are dressing up like the animals. Does that feel like a form of blackface to anybody else?
No, because... So if the writer wouldn't have been Snagglepuss, then yes, they wouldn't say that could be blackface. But because we've got the writer of this play, obviously... And like the very last play he writes is a story of him and Huckleberry Hound.
And he was the one that cast the play.
And he cast the play, yeah. So he's casting these people to be these roles. So for me, it didn't feel like blackface at all. It just felt like, okay, so we live in a world... They're wearing a costume. Yeah, it's a costume. We live in a world where we have talking animals that... obviously, bestiality doesn't matter because they're having same-sex and opposite sexual relationships with humans.
Sure.
No, but he cast it, he wrote it, and it was just as part of Broad was like, hey, this is a play I'm in. In this role, I'm a human. Next time, I might be a dog. So
it might be like...
My thing is, though, there's probably cat actors out there looking for a job, and they would be perfect for this role. This is the dream role of a lifetime, but yet this role goes to a human actor.
They're taking our
dressed up
jobs.
like
Dude, that's like saying the British
that,
actor can't have an American accent. American.
I'm not talking about British. That's just a change of accent. I'm
or
talking about
playing a blind character that's not blind.
You know, potentially yes, or someone who is in a actually giving someone in a wheelchair an actual chance to play. So, what is your opinion on that? Then, actually, I do find this a little bit interesting. Can a actor act in doing something that they're inherently not? I think that they can, depending on what the role is. I think that I currently work on a show that is colorblind casted. You know what I mean? Like there are. It's a known story, and there are characters. Because of the way the cast moves around, there are, you can have, all sorts of different ethnicities perform different roles. I think that's a proper way of doing it. I've also worked with a very talented singer and actress in a wheelchair, and she had a fairly successful role in a film that came out a few years ago. It did okay at Sundance. There's like a little bit of Oscar buzz around it, but never really went. It's called The Sessions. I don't know if Adam ever saw that or not.
What was it again?
The Sessions.
I don't think so, no.
Okay. It was about a sex therapist. Anyway, so I think that I feel like there are opportunities out there for actors with different skill sets and abilities that I feel like should be taken into consideration. The same way I don't feel like an actor should be cast, like if a character is not specifically written as a male or a female or as a white person or a black person or whatever, like if that doesn't have anything to do with the actual plot of the story,
so I feel like Hamilton, how they have purposely changed all of that up.
Yeah, completely. Because that was actually a deliberate choice. That was a choice to make America then look like America now. Outside of Utah, because when I go to Utah, I'm shocked by how many white people there. But like, it's more like what I'm used to. Where I live in California. But that was a deliberate choice, and that's fine because that's also making a statement. I'm okay with that. Like they've done what they called the photo negative Othello, where it was an all-black cast and one white guy playing Othello, who happened to be Sir Patrick Stewart. There's things like that they're actually making a deliberate point with doing that. I'm fine with that as well. But like, if your race or ethnicity has nothing to do with the plot, and you're the best actor for the job, I think you should get the job. that's just sort of my opinion. Like, because also, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's sort of my general opinion, just because I know a lot of different talented actors, who are looking for work. It felt like that putting on that makeup to portray a different species felt like blackface to me. For me, that's different than just changing your accent, because your accent is about where you're from, not who you are. You know what I mean? Or not, it's not necessarily always about your ethnicity. And but when some people, we've seen it before in films where people do accents or whatever that is highly racist. You have. That's exactly what I'm thinking of. You know what I mean? Like Breakfast at Tiffany's is a huge point. You know what I mean?
All the Charlie Chan movies.
I was going to say Charlie Chan.
Yeah, exactly.
I was more thinking Kevin Costner and Robin Hood Prince of Thieves.
No.
That's just bad acting. That's a different story entirely.
The bigger crime in that movie is, was it Christian Slater?
Yes.
Red Scarlet?
Yes.
I don't think it was that bad.
Will Scarlet is...
I think the ever-changing accent was more...
There's like
more
7
painful.
accents that Costner...
Slater just was like, I'm an American, deal with it. Like, that's just...
I'm Mr. Robot.
Also, for the record, that movie is awful, but I absolutely love it.
I love it.
I loved it. I haven't watched it as an adult, but I loved it as a kid.
Oh,
I watched it once as an adult because I bought when it got released on DVD, with the first whole tri-quad fold of everything. And it was the Bryan Adams music video.
Ooh, fancy.
And I watched this and
I'm playing piano in the forest.
I will say, Who Framed Roger Rabbit totally holds up.
Oh, really? That's good.
Absolutely holds up. Prince of Thieves, a little bit less so.
Prince of Thieves does not hold up.
You know what surprisingly holds up? The cartoon from Nickelodeon, Doug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was watching that recently. That completely holds up. I was kind of surprised.
But yeah, I guess back to Snagglepuss again. It is this is a book saying something. And it doesn't happen to have characters that are gay, but it is the persecution of characters of who they are.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And it continues to need to be told because of the treatment that even happens today. And though we like to pretend we're making progress, and progress is being made, we're not anywhere near yet.
But we wouldn't hold 2 steps forward, 1 step back with this current administration. So
that's true. Mm-hmm. And I need to give props for a very public. This is a property owned by Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers is putting this product out, and it's fantastic. So good for them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, and the other thing I like about it is that it's a known character. It's not like some secondary character that nobody knows.
And it's Snagglepuss. It's great. All my memories of Snagglepuss is when they were doing the big racing TV cartoon shows.
Oh yeah.
That's all I really know him from.
I knew him from old school cartoons even. Yeah.
Well, and you bring up them, having these diverse books. They've not to. Admittedly, I'm kind of biased, but they've been doing the diversity in comics long before Marvel did. They were just quiet about it and didn't be like, "Hey, look, we have brown characters and we have openly gay characters." They just kind of did it.
Sure, Batwoman was really great for a while until they got scared and backed away a little bit. So
yeah.
All right.
So we got final grades.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So for our writer, who I don't have in front of me, so I apologize, but
Mark Russell.
Okay. Mark Russell. Now I'm thinking Bloodhound Gang. Todd, what is your grade for Mark Russell?
Dude, it's an A-. Okay. I have so thoroughly enjoyed this. I've read 5 parts out of the 6. The 6 hasn't been released yet, and I am chomping at the bit just to see how he's going to wrap this all up. Even though it may not be 100% necessary on how it ends, I want to see how it ends.
Yeah.
And I am excited for this, and my heart goes out. It leaves me pissed off and heartbroken and wanting more. So A- for Mark Russell.
And I remember last week when we were off mic, you had said you had read them already, and you're like, the 6th issue would be nice, but you honestly don't need the 6th issue.
Yeah, that's my opinion.
And after reading it, I'm like, oh wow, yeah, no, he's right.
So yeah. So he's done an incredible job here. So yeah, A-.
To me, the 6th issue seems like it'll be more like an epilogue than
Yeah.
Like, I think we got our ending here, and then the next issue is just going to be like the.
And see, I don't think so. I think we're going to get our ending in the next issue. I think
You're going to do that.
I think this is
stabbing all the survivors.
No, this is like the penultimate episode of a Game of Thrones thing, where it's like you got your big huge thing that, hey, fuck you, but I think there's going to be a huge fallout in the next one. So I'm with Todd. I don't see it ending well for our hero. So
okay, cool. Yeah, A- for Mark Russell. Way to go, man.
Mr. Maya, what is your grade?
I'm right there with Todd. I'm at an A-. This book is extremely well written, extremely relevant, and will make you feel all sorts of feelings from good to bad and everything in between.
Awesome. Mr. Adam.
Actually, I'm at an A. I think this was one of the best written comics we've read in a long time. It brought it, again, it took place in the 50s, but still bringing up points of things that are happening today. There's tie-ins to the current political climate and how people are still being treated. And while it was still a period piece and was really interesting to see like how things were back then, the time of Stonewall with McCarthyism, everything else, it's up there with one of my favorite books of all time. I'm actually kind of sad it's going to end after next issue because I really think there's more of a story to tell. So,
they could always do a sequel.
They could, but
I hope they do.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit with Adam, actually. I'm going to call it an A. I think this is some really great writing. I think this is a fun book. I think it's a important book. I think it's really one of those weird books to describe to people because you're sitting there like, okay, Snagglepuss from like Hanna-Barbera cartoons, the pink cat. Yeah, so imagine he's Truman Capote. You know what I mean? It's a hard book to sell to people, but it's really good,
See, and I was reading it, I was thinking a bit more Snagglepuss as a bit of a Tennessee Williams, and Huckleberry Hound is a Capote.
Okay, but either way,
absolutely,
yeah, sure. Yeah, either way, those still kind of work.
Yes,
okay,
it
cool.
does.
So that's everybody for writer. For our artist, Todd, do you know who that is?
Nope, I don't know who that is.
Okay.
I did, but I just handed Eddie the book, so it's Mike. So hang on.
Look it up. So what's great with this art here is it is so recognizable as Snagglepuss and Huckleberry Hound and Quick Draw McGraw, is exactly who these characters are. And it's not like, though they may have the same name, but they have been reimagined all the way to the point that I don't know. You look at Snagglepuss and like, yep, that's Snagglepuss. Yep, that's Huckleberry Hound.
Yep, that's Quick Draw McGraw.
Right, and they might have a fancy suit and a bit of a pashmina, but it's exactly them.
Mike Feehan.
Okay, well then, Mr. Maya, what is your grade for our artist?
I'm also going to stick with an A on this. I thought it was well drawn. Yeah, no, it was the perfect art style for the story, and I'm going to give it an A.
Cool. Mr. Maya, Adam.
Mr. Maya.
I'm going to go with the A as well. I mean, the art's interesting. It's fun. It's very... it captures the look and feel of that time, especially with the theater district of New York, and it's really well done. I loved it.
And it makes it believable that animal people...
Are people.
And
that you think it'd be weird seeing like Snagglepuss kiss a guy, but like it works. It's the same way we talked about. Kasdan came out and said that Lando is pansexual in the Star Wars universe. It makes sense that in this universe where, I mean, you have to think talking animals have probably been there the whole time. So it's not weird that you have, these creatures there that, it wouldn't be like all of a sudden like, oh, they started talking now, let's fuck them. Like, no, it's just it's a different species, but it's been there forever. So here's this world we built. And the art does a great job of bringing that across and making it seem like this is a world that actually does exist.
Okay, so Mr. Todd, what is your grade?
I'm going to give this an A. As I was just commenting a little bit ago, the art it's distinctly and instantly recognizable as Hanna-Barbera. It is absolutely the 1950s. It sucks you into the time. You know exactly who they are. They're paying full reverence and acknowledgement of where these characters came from, but everything services the story so well. So, I mean, it's an absolute harmony of what's going on here. And it's one of those rare occasions you're like, I don't know how it would be any better than what's being drawn right now. So the author and the artist are just hitting it on all cylinders. So I'm going to give the art an A.
And I am also going to give it an A for all of the great reasons that have been said before. I don't really have a whole lot to add to it. It was fun and it was great. And I really liked it. So for total overall grade for the entire book, we will go with Mr. Todd.
It's an A. So I want to read more. I'm going to be sad it's over. I'm going to be pissed off when it's done and wishing I could have another serving. So, yeah.
Awesome. Mr. Maya.
I'm also at an A. I don't think there's really much more I can say that hasn't already been said.
Mr. Adam.
I'm at an A. I love this. This is fantastic. I can't wait until tomorrow when I can go out and get the final issue of this book, find out what happens, where it goes. And I want to see more of this character. Like, if you would have told me, again, a year ago, hey, Snagglepuss is going to be a gay theater writer, playwright in 1950s New York, and you're going to fall in love with this thing, I'd be like, you mean the Exit Stage Left dude from, like, the cartoons? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? But no, it's really well done. It's fantastic. This is up there as probably one of the best books I've ever read with you guys. So I'm really happy.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with an A as well. I agree. It's been super fun, and although it's a hard book to sell other people on, it's great. It's a really good read. Mm-hmm. So if you haven't read already, and we've already spoiled it for you, I think it's still worth the read because there's a lot of details that you may will clean out of it, and it's still just a fun read. I mean, I'm pretty interested in going back and maybe rereading it myself anyway. I'll definitely buy the trade when it eventually comes out as well, so I'll probably buy this whole thing twice.
Yes.
Cool. And actually, I think so that's probably a really good point to end our Pride Month on. I think we ended on a high note with that one.
Pride Month 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo.
Glad we decided to do that last instead of America.
Yes.
Yeah,
they're all going to start it.
That would have been a bummer.
I'm sassy.
I am taking that as a drop. I'm going to have Todd saying I'm sassy. It's going to be awesome.
Fucking hell.
Future Brian. Well, so let's jump into, does anybody have any recommendations?
Yeah, well, I'll jump in. If you like this, stay on the Hanna-Barbera DC bandwagon. They've been doing a bunch of other stuff. They kind of reimagined Scooby-Doo with like a post-apocalyptic. Basically, I'm a ways behind, but like Scooby and the gang are the only humans left, and this virus gets released in the world and turns everyone into monsters. They've done Future Quest, which is like has like Johnny Quest and Birdman and
attorney-at-law.
No, before he was an attorney.
Oh,
and Space Ghost and
The talk show host.
And then also the Flintstones, which is by the same writer.
Yeah, Mark Russell.
Mark Russell. And it deals with a lot of social commentary in that book. So, yeah, just check out all the Hanna-Barbera DC stuff.
They have anything from the Jetsons yet?
They do have a Jetsons series. I haven't read it, but they just finished, I think, is a 6-issue series.
They also did a DC meets the Hanna-Barbera. That was actually, they did that before they did DC meets the Looney Tunes.
Where you had like Suicide Squad and the Banana Splits, and but they also just, as we record this last week, so as you hear this about a month ago, did a second wave of those with like Aquaman and Jabberjaw, and like Speed Buggy and the Flash, and there are a couple others, but
awesome.
Yeah,
I have the first trade of them. I haven't read it yet, but it's on my pile of stuff to read. Mr. Adam, do you have any recommendations?
No, I'm good right now. There's a game I'm working on. Once I get further into it, I will recommend it. But for right now, I can't put my stamp on it.
Mr. Todd.
I can go back. I brought it up earlier. Mark Russell also wrote "God is Disappointed in You." So if you want to read the Bible about the nuts and bolts of what the Bible really says and how awesomely terrible it is. And it's great. It's called God is Disappointed in You. It even includes the lovely little bookmark built into the book, just like your classic Bible, so you can save your space. And
it's true, I have it. I need to read it still. So,
dude, it is. You read it and you're like, "Is this what shit? Awesome, awful, amazingness our society is influenced by." So, Mark Russell, you're the man.
And I'm going to recommend a little bit more of a heavier book. It's called Secret Path. It's by Jeff Lemire and a Canadian singer-songwriter named Gord Dowdy, I think.
Sure, that sounds right.
Why not?
Does that sound basically what ended up happening is that he wrote the singer wrote a Gord Downey. Sorry, Gord Downey. He wrote the album, and then Jeff Lemire illustrated a graphic novel to tie into the album. It's about the size of like a record. So if you collect vintage records like a hipster, you can put it on that shelf. I stumbled on this entirely. Apparently, I've heard from other interviews that like it's actually taught as a like almost a textbook in Canada. It's sort of like their version of the book Mouse, if you've ever read that or are aware of what that is. But it is about...
So how to be depressed?
Here's the thing. It's depressing, but it's so beautifully done that I actually... like it really stuck with me. The thing I love about Jeff Lemire is he has this ability to really get to the emotions and the feels in something. And this, I mean, I've always loved his writing. I have argued with some people who don't necessarily like his art. This is some of the best examples of his art. This is the most fleshed out artwork that he's ever done. And he only has one line of dialogue in the entire thing. The rest of it's just, it'll have the lyrics to a song, and then he's telling the rest of the story visually. And there is no words, no, anything else, but it's pretty powerful. I don't want to say too much about it because like I kind of went into it blind. I didn't even read the back of the book. I just read it blind and then read the back of the book with the details on it. And I felt that was a very powerful experience. So I'm trying not to ruin it for anyone. I just recommend going and reading it. It's a very powerful book, but just read it. And then, in my opinion, read the back of the book to find out the details. Because there's certain things that are said on the back of the book, like where they describe the book, that if you learn that after the fact, it almost is a little bit more heartbreaking than if you learn it while reading it, or if you know beforehand. I don't know. I've tried either way, but I think it's a spectacular piece of comic art, and I highly recommend it. And it's also by like my current, probably my favorite writer and artist right now. So that'll do it for this week, and finish off our Pride Month.
Yes.
Anybody else have any final words? Nope. Cool.
Oh, we're good.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next week for We 3.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us. Please rate us on whatever service you listen on. And remember, at least we're not cinema queens.